The USA win their World Cup group after just 2 games. Is American fan culture finally finding its feet during this World Cup? And the Oakland Roots continue to work their way towards building their forever home. That and much more on Monday's edition of Morning Kickaround. Hello and welcome to the show. You found your way to Morning Kicker on the show that dots the map of the ever-changing American soccer landscape. Hope you're doing well. My name is Robert Kerr, local soccer guy, and to my side, Jason Davis, radio soccer guy. Good morning to all, and hope you're well. How you doing?
Doing good. Let's first acknowledge Callan Reese, who has gifted a membership to Morning Kick Around. A new ultra enters the chat. Thank you very much to Callan Reese for stepping up. I set a goal this morning. We had 16 goals scored in the World Cup yesterday. Now that's East Coast time because one of those games started at 12 a.m. East Coast time. So technically Sunday for me over here, Rob, and for you as well in Michigan. So 16 goals yesterday in the World Cup. 16 new members. So we can do 16 new members on the show today. I think that's a reasonable goal, isn't it?
Yeah, I like that goal, member per goal. That seems like a great topic. And in some of the games that are on the agenda today, maybe those will be high scoring and they'll add even more numbers. But you said 16 today, and we've got one so far. So let's keep the momentum flowing. Your guy over here, I had my first taste of sunshine. I went to the beach this weekend trying to keep up on the World Cup on my phone from the beach. But your guy with the Anglo skin, you can't see it too much here, but very toasty. So I'm like, I got aloe all over. I'm kind of gingerly moving around the place, but it was great to see some sun.
Something you and I have in common. Not a lot of melanin happening on this show, unfortunately. In other ways, we bring that into the equation, but not through us. No, we're not doing that. Guy Tulsa Mario stepping up, making it 6 on the day, 10 to go. Thank you very much. I want to acknowledge all the ultras who are in the building this morning. We got Tim Duff, our guy up there in Rhode Island. We got Dahoma Shoe. We got TSU Kone 620. Is that a Kone situation? We got Tulsa Mario, who's our guy up down there in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Jeff in Newport News. That's where you're at, Jeff, right? I can't remember if that's just your handle or where you're based. I can't remember. Mountain to CFC Dwayne is in the building. I play French horn. I mentioned Callan Reese already. Shout out to Callan again. Billy Bob Western. Bill Barrett, the Bills. We got 2 of the Bills. We got more Bills. Jay Hunt is here. John Stark is here. We've got Matt. We've got, did I say Jay Hunt? Yes, I did. Armando. My guy Armando is here by the big lake. Chris Huey. You guys are great. Thank you. So Nate's here as well. Shout out to my guy, Nate. What's up, Nate?
All right, Nate.
We'll keep the roll call going as ultras show up. But it's a great day to be a soccer fan in America, as I like to say.
If we're trying to hit that goal of 16, we got 6 gifts in the mix, 10 to go to hit that goal. Perks of becoming an MK Ultra A channel member: you get priority commenting on screen during these live shows. You get access to bonus content and the Morning Kick Around Discord server. I want to shout out to our new members that we haven't seen you in the Discord yet. We'd love to dot you on the map. Matthew Brothers, Barfi Yuk, Call Me Drew Gaming, Kyle Harris, Soccer with Brian, Zyme, Mr. X Factor, Marlon 006, Cyclone, and Rock X Solid. Guys, come on into the MK Ultra Discord server. We'd love to get you in the mix and to dot you on the map. One of the traditions we do with the channel members on this show. Don't forget, we have a store. You can find Morning Kick Around merch, including the kits, hoodies, t-shirts, and more at the link at the bottom of the screen here, morningkickaround-shop.fourthwall.com. And if you want to help donate to the show outside of the YouTube hemisphere, you can go to ko-fi.com/morningkickaround and donate any amount at your leisure. And then if you are not in the position to do so, just tell your friends, share a link, put a thumbs up on this video. Anything helps. And thank you for helping us spread the word and dot the map of the American soccer landscape. On this show, we're going to talk a little about the effort to find Oakland Roots a new stadium, a new home, as they're kind of becoming a bit of a journey to find their permanent home out there, out in Oakland, California. We're going to talk about the teams that have already been eliminated, but a large chunk of the show, USA versus Australia, American fan culture, where we stand now, 10 days into this tournament, and has it evolved already amongst the topics?
I do see a question here from Callan, who gifted that membership today, and it's one of our favorites. Kit timetable update. I am going to check on that with our guy, Mark, today. So at some point, I will hopefully get an update and maybe drop it into the Discord for all of the ultras, if you're wondering, because there are some people who have not yet received their shirts. So yes, I believe they are either in like done with production and on their way. I think that's the timetable right now, is that they're maybe be getting shipped to my house and should be on the way in the very near future.
Yeah, exciting times. I got to rock my morning kick around kit, the ultra kit, all weekend long, so I had to finally put that thing in the wash though. But it was great to represent MK Ultras throughout the weekend on the beach and across the state of Michigan. But should we get to the show? Is it that time? Should we get to the show?
I think it's that time. Let's go.
All right. Morning kick around here on Monday, June 22nd. Away we go. Let's do it. On Friday afternoon, and the results that followed means that the United States qualified for the knockout stages of World Cup 2026 in the fastest way possible. 2-0 win, and then Turkey lost. So United States win the group. The game against Turkey later in the week, a dead rubber. One of the big surprises going into that, or at least big notes going into that, Christian Pulisic, not even in on the bench. He was completely removed from that game. But to your point, I was skeptical on Friday, Jason. You were pretty bold saying Pulisic had no impact on whether the USA was going to win or lose against Australia. I gave you the eyebrows. I gave you the eyebrows of non-confirmation or skeptical eyebrows, should I say. But you ended up being right. So my hand's up to you there. And the Americans really kind of stepped into themselves.
You're just a glass half empty kind of guy, apparently, Robert. I didn't know that about you.
Not so much. It's just, over the last, 6-8 years, he's been one of the catalysts. And in that first game against Paraguay, the United States, a lot more dynamic against Paraguay when he was in the lineup compared to in the second half when he was subbed out. But there was no Pulisic in this 90 minutes. But courtesy of an own goal and a 2-0 win. I was actually surprised Australia didn't bring more in that first half.
Well, they also made some changes that had people scratching their heads. Two of their attacking weapons, the guys who had scored in their opener against Turkiye, had they didn't play. They didn't start, rather. Aaron Kunda was the guy I was worried most about, and they didn't put him on the field to start the game. So I don't know what Tony Popovich was thinking there. Fair play to Tony Popovich, who after the game did say the United States was better. We didn't meet the challenge. I think that the Australians' plan was always to just sort of brutalize the United States, to just come in and just kind of physically dominate the U.S., and the U.S. had to meet that challenge, and they did, right? They did. They had learned something from the Paraguay game. Obviously, it was a different kind of game, right? The way the goals came about was not, it wasn't as free-flowing as it had been against Paraguay, and I think obviously that's partly because of the way the Australians decided to step up, or decided to approach the game, rather. Obviously without Pulisic, there was a choice to be made, and Mauricio Pochettino decided his choice was Ricardo Pepi, which surprised everybody. But
everyone assumed Weah, right? Was the assumption Weah for Pulisic?
No, I don't think so necessarily. Although Weah had obviously been a starter. I think a lot of people would tell you that Weah's strength is wide and getting to the end line and stuff like that, and you weren't going to get a lot of that with the way the Australians play deep. with their low block. But I thought that maybe we would get a Brendan Aronson, whose energy could be useful, who might be winning you fouls in the attacking third of the field. It could have been Gio Reyna, although I didn't think fitness was going to be a good thing for Gio in a game like that. The choice of Pepe was surprising. But if you kind of go back and you look at it, you can kind of reason out what Pochettino was maybe thinking, which was two things. One, two center forwards occupy those center backs that Australia sets basically at the top of their own box, right? Those are trees, as my radio partner Eric Winalda described them, right? You have to figure out a way to work through the trees. And if you have extra bodies and physical players in Pepe and Balogun, then that can help you with that. And number two, Ricardo Pepe was excellent pressing from the front, which I think helped prevent Australia from picking out those long balls that they had used in their first win in the tournament to get themselves, opportunities on the other end of the field. So, again, you've got a situation here where the team that we all presume to be kind of ready to be second place in the group, at the very least in Turkiye, is now already out. And as you said, Rob, going into that third game, it's a lot of questions about rotation and resting, and do you need to how should you address it? And maybe we'll talk about that more on Wednesday as we get closer to the match.
Yeah, there's a couple things that were surprising about that game, because the Australian player you said was surprised that you didn't get to see from the start. And when he was included, I forget his name, in the second half, Australia was a lot harder to handle in that game. So you think that maybe they missed an opportunity there. And I was surprised Australia's passing was a lot ropier and looser. Maybe that's what the United States was doing, from pressing from the front and forcing them into that. I was surprised that Australia was as loose there. And I think in this game, I think it was a Florian Balogun star turn. Like, he became the catalyst of those goals and was the go-to. And I think he really stepped into his own for the first time, especially at least in a very big competitive game where he was the guy to go to. And I think Pochettino, I think his coaching decisions in this game was probably one of his best moments for the United States as well.
I mean, I think we knew Mauricio Pochettino was a good coach. I think the question was whether or not he was applying it correctly, his ways of doing things correctly to this U.S. men's national team. And look, I lost faith at times during the almost 2 years he was in charge, year and 3/4. I didn't know if he had a grasp on how to get the best out of this team. I wondered about playing in the sandbox too much and not sort of locking down on what he wanted them to do in friendlies and the build up to the tournament. But I was wrong. And I can admit that I was wrong. At least through 2 games, Mauricio Pochettino has been nearly perfect. Now, the second half against Australia was not great. But I don't think there are any easy World Cup games. Ask Uruguay last night against Cabo Verde. Ask Turkey against Paraguay. Paraguay went down to 10 men because Miguel Almiron is an idiot and covered his mouth when everybody knew you couldn't cover your mouth. And still Turkey was unable to find the goal that was going to keep them alive in this tournament. I do want to address something here. Our guy John Hunt is saying, bench anyone with a yellow. It does not matter, John. You do not have to do that because yellows do not carry forward into the knockout stage. They are wiping yellows out after the group phase. So everybody is available. Everybody can play. The question is who maybe needs a break, a rest. Maybe you worry about the way Turkey will play that game. I don't know. There is that balance of the momentum and the energy and the positive vibes around the team that you have after 2 victories, and whether you want to risk that by playing a team that maybe isn't as competent to get a victory against Turkey, right? Because if you're trying to win the game, you might pick these 11 players, but if you're maybe, we don't really need it, you pick a different group, they lose the game. Now we're talking about, like, what does that mean going into the knockout phase? I think Pochettino's a pretty pragmatic guy. I think you're going to see some significant changes, but there will be a sense that they need to go at least put on a good performance. This is not true, John. This is not true. They are not suspended for the round of 32 if they get another yellow. That's not true. The rules have changed for the World Cup, and you are not suspended for 2 yellow cards in terms of accumulation for the knockout phase. All yellow cards wiped out after the group phase. And then you'll start over. And then obviously if you get a yellow in the round of 32 and a yellow in the round of 16, then you'll be suspended for, I think it's like that, something like that. But there are definitely no carryover from the group phase. So that's a positive. That's a positive for the U.S. men's national team. There are other positives too, Rob, in the building, in Seattle, and the support.
Yeah, let's transition to the support because there's been a lot of talk about this. And when I actually got to see this game from a watch party with other people for the first time during this tournament, and the TV stayed on after the win, and the support for the American team in Seattle seemed great overall. Obviously, Seattle, one of the great American soccer cities. But at the end of the game, everyone came together in a collective song that maybe isn't necessarily associated with soccer culture, but is American collectivism, which we don't always see. Do we want to run the clip before we dive
Yeah,
too
yeah.
deep?
Look, there are people questioning this yellow card accumulation situation, right? Okay. So again, Armando is saying he read an article. I think there are people who did not clock that there was a change to this. Trust me, it's been talked about quite a bit in terms
Yeah.
of the yellow card accumulation. Trust us on this. There is no carryover. But yes, Rob, that was the moment that made waves, right? We had the whole seismic thing, which is something that happens in Seattle, right? Like Marshawn Lynch on the beast mode run, and then we also got that, right? When Alex Freeman's goal was upheld, or initially there was a question of offside, it was upheld. There was this explosion of joy, and the fans got very loud, and it registered on the what is it? What is it called? The
Seismograph?
is it a seismograph? Okay, a Richter scale seismograph. Yeah, you're right. Probably a seismograph. So after the game, with all those positive vibes, we had this moment that has now resonated.
American collectivism for you.
Now, I want to pause that. We don't want to get in trouble with copyright issues. John Denver's estate might come after us, so we'll just not be able to monetize our videos on YouTube. One of those two things. But that made some waves. And I read a very good piece by my friend Jeff Reuter at The Guardian on that song and sort of why it struck a chord. And I think his analysis is pretty spot on, that there are some vibes about that song. And honestly, the most basic thing to say, Rob, is that pretty much everybody knows it, right? Like, even if you're not a fan of John Denver.
Yeah, yeah. And I think some people don't even associate it with John Denver anymore. It's like a stadium sing-along song. That started at college football games. And I went to a baseball game at Tiger Stadium, Comerica Park last year. People sang it there. It's becoming just an American sing-along. It's like, what is the the song that everyone sings at weddings? It's becoming synonymous like that, where everyone across the United States knows that song. And there's been a lot of lamenting about maybe the chants for American fans are a little lame, or there's an opportunity to bring new ones to the table and like trying to find our own confidence as American fans. Like, how do we support with our chest out, not trying to cosplay something else, but try to like not be slandered for cheesiness, and having a shared song like this, while it might not be exclusively a soccer thing, this is a shared experience. And that's ultimately what it's all about.
So, yeah, that you bring up the whole thing about this question of how we support our team and what we use to support our team, the chant question. I will say that, yeah, Country Road, so Soccer Night in Detroit, Country Road, song at Old Trafford now. Again, it's a song it's very easy to sing. Everybody can kind of remember at least that chorus. There's that. It's not unique to that moment, right? But that's okay. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And
But the uniqueness might come from, has there been an American game where a song that's not like USA, USA, or we believe that we can win, where the entire stadium bought in like that?
Yeah, right. That is a thing, right? So this part of this discussion for me, right? That's a great moment, and maybe Country Roads does strike a chord. And look, obviously, when you win, when there is joy attached to that, it gets locked into your brain, and now it's a thing that will probably happen again. Now, whether it kind of becomes soccer specific that we're doing this, as opposed to, say, like you said, I got friends from West Virginia. They grew up in Morgantown. I've been to that stadium. I've listened to 60,000 people drunk off their asses sing that song before. It's a pretty incredible thing when you do it collectively. If you sing anything collectively, it's pretty cool. And maybe we just need to add to our songbook rather than look too closely and be too self-critical about this thing about our chants suck, right? So, after this win, the U.S. has booked their place in the round of 32. We're nowhere into the knockouts. And by the way, if you go look and see some of the analysis, I think The Athletic is one of the places that has done this. There's a potential for the U.S. to have a pretty soft path. You got to win the games, but a pretty soft path to quarterfinals in this tournament. Like, the way things are playing out, you might get Bosnia-Herzegovina in the round of 32, and you might get somebody like Egypt in the round of 16. And I'd like our chances against both those teams. Let me just say that. So, when we talk about like, we were moving forward, I saw a post, and I don't want to put anybody on blast. I kind of understand where this comes from, and I know this is the consensus. It said, hey, we might be going on a great run. We need to work on our chants. Our chants suck. We should do better. And a suggested chant that somebody put in the response to the replies was, our chants suck and we don't care. Like that as a way to like be self-deprecating and lean into this idea. Our chants suck and we don't care. And I'm sorry. I don't understand this desire, this inferiority complex, this self-critical notion that American soccer fans have. Like you talked about cosplaying, right? Like the American soccer is sort of cosplay of other soccer cultures, for lack of a better way of describing it. In a lot of places.
To the party. You go to the party, there's an inside joke going. You try to chime in.
Exactly. And I don't, why are you laughing? You don't even know what we were talking about. That kind of thing, right? Like I don't blame anybody for trying to latch onto something else to take their cues if they don't have a reference point. Like you and I were in Rhode Island for Rhode Island FC there in Pawtucket. And what I saw from a very passionate supporters group was this thing of what are our influences? What cues are we taking? How do we want to express ourselves? And you'll have European influences, mainly English, because that's an accessible point for English speakers. And then you'll have South American influences. We had the president of the supporters group tell us, I want us to be Ibarra. Like, I want us to be Ibarra. I want us to act like that. I want us to have the passion that I see in Argentina or whatever. And like, I don't blame anybody for doing that. I don't know that in soccer we are comfortable saying our sports support culture transfers over. But go to any college basketball game for a program that has passionate support from it, especially their student section. Go to any college football game, like I just mentioned, in Morgantown or wherever. There are hundreds of places in this country you can go and listen to passionate support of sports that is organic, unique to that place, has its own character. And here we are with our national soccer team going, we're not doing a good enough job with our chants. We can't just say USA, USA all over and over again. Why the hell not? Like, why the hell not? What is this thing where we have to be like, well, we're not English enough? Screw you. Like, I don't need that. Like, if somebody decides that it'd be cool if we sing Country Roads, then let's sing Country Roads because it'd be cool for us to sing Country Roads, not because we are trying to meet somebody else's standard of what our support culture needs to be.
Yeah, what other songs are universally known by Americans? Because I felt this kind of shortcoming, just soccer aside, as we don't sing with each other just in general as friend groups like many people from around the world do. Like I went on a Euro trip after college, and when everyone gets on the sauce a little bit, groups of friends, they all have their own songs that they sing and stuff like that. But we don't, that's not necessarily baked into the culture as much as what we do. But so obviously Country Roads has taken a chord, but I've also seen people praising that some of the Fox sets are set up like College Game Day style. And is that appropriate? Is that just like Chant Fox's production? Like, okay, this works in Eugene, Oregon for an Oregon Ducks game. Let's just do that for World Cup because that's how our production knows it. Or is that a good thing that Americans just being themselves at a sporting event? It's hard to know which way to kind of interpret that. Or are we, through this long, big, giant tournament, are we finding the outcome in real time? Like, how do we do this?
Maybe. And again, okay, so you and I were talking about this before the show. Nate says, Living on a Prayer. Another great song because the chorus is so easy, right? Everybody can sing Living on a Prayer. That has become a thing at the Pausa de Adaptación, the water breaks, right? They're playing music, I think, in part to encourage people to sing rather than boo, because it's more fun.
People are booing. That's a note. Yeah, but people are booing the hydration breaks for sure.
Yeah, but so this thing, you and I were talking about this, and I did see. So I posted about this on Blue Sky. I said, why are we worrying about our bad chants? Why do we stop being weird about that? And just like, again, if you want to add something, pick songs we can all sing together that everybody knows, and maybe Country Roads, maybe Living on a Prayer, maybe some of these other songs are quote unquote an answer to that. And I have a friend, Dan Orlowitz, who covers Japanese soccer and is in the United States right now covering the tournament. And he said something like, There's already a strong culture from college sports. Why do we do this thing where we try to suck all of that organic support out of pro sports, right? And this is what you and I were talking about before the show. You go to a pro sporting event in America and you are told how to cheer. You are told what to chant. You are told what to sing. You know, they're giving you cues all the time on the Jumbotron, right? There isn't this thing. That's the reason the English do it the way they do it is because before all that technology existed, they started singing in the terraces. And now what are the teams are going to be like, you know what? Let's drown out the singing of the no, of course they're not going to do that. That's the culture of English football. We just didn't have that sort of thing already before the technology came in and started making you go, you know, charge at a baseball game or whatever, or yell defense, you know, whatever it is at
Make some
pro
noise,
football game.
fans.
Yeah, I just think, man, we've got like I would love for everybody to back off of the cues that they give people. Now, maybe it would take a while for fans in some sporting cultures to like
fill in those gaps.
Yeah, they might have, nobody's telling what to do. What are we supposed to do? But I think soccer fans want to do it, right? And a lot of us do come to the game having seen and heard other cultures. And I don't want us to be English. I don't want us to act like that. I don't want us to act like anybody else. I want us to act like ourselves. But maybe there is a way through things like country roads where we can find that. And Jack is absolutely right. And I mentioned this to you as well, Rob. Like at baseball games, they started with the organ. Like even the organ was giving us cues back in the day.
Da, 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 da. But regardless of how you feel about it, it was great to see. And I'm sure those people that were in the Seattle Stadium will never forget that time that they sung Took Me Home Country Roads. And I'm sure a lot of people watching at home, that was my first feeling of FOMO. I had kind of come to this part where like I didn't win a contest. I didn't win the lottery. We didn't get flown out anywhere. So I'm not going to any games, right? But it wasn't until that moment where I had that turn in my stomach where I really had the FOMO really kicked in at that moment, because that seemed special. While the game obviously was great to get the win and what it means and the advancement, but I feel like there was some sort of a togetherness there in singing that together. That I mean, the players, like in the clip that we showed, the players were obviously like, you know, it meant something to them. And I think people will take that a long way, and that's all part of it. Do you think that, being a little bit silly here, do you believe in love after love is universal enough? Singing a Celine Dion song is enough, or is that too Canadian to could people
believe in life after love? That's a Cher song.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Not Celine Dion, Cher. She's American, so it fits in a little bit better. But I'm trying to think of songs that are just like completely universal that people can just get through. If a couple of people started singing it, would people take up on that?
Like I said, I posted about this on Blue Sky, and I ended up with a bunch of responses. So let me see if I didn't pull this up in a plan to like pass along all the suggestions, but I do see there are some suggestions in the chat. I see somebody really wants to talk about Sweet Caroline. And I'll say one thing.
Caroline, that's the one I was talking
Sweet
about.
Caroline has taken on a life beyond. Well, so for me, I connect Sweet Caroline to the Boston Red Sox because it's a seventh inning stretch song. You sing Sweet Caroline, seventh inning stretch, the Red Sox games. I believe it's also become a staple of English football as well, Sweet Caroline. And then again, it's the that gets everybody going, right? Guy Andrew on Blue Sky. He's, I don't know. I mean, those are songs I don't think anybody can sing. Hip Hop Hooray was the very first one somebody suggested. And they're not saying we do anything that, you know, there's no rapping in the stadium. We're just doing the hip hop hooray, ho, hey, right? And then everybody can wave their hands. And now we've got some motion to it. Like, and the problem is that, again, like disseminating these things, getting everybody to be on board requires, you know, communication of some type, right?
And that's why I would never suggest a Cher song in general for anyone to sing, but that's one of those songs that even if you've never pressed play or selected to pick that song, people know it. Like, it's just one of those things that's ingrained into people's brains, and that's become synonymous with Take Me Home Country Roads. But I saw, before we move on to the next part, I saw a request, is making it out of the knockout, or making it to the knockout rounds of the World Cup in 2 games, a clang-worthy affair and a clang-worthy achievement.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, we should clang it up.
Playing the
Yeah.
hell out of that, because I mean, I always thought that that it would come down to the Turkey game, but winners of Group USA.
In our most optimistic outlook for this team, I don't think we were thinking, oh, they'll have it done and dusted after 2 matches, and it
No
won't.
way.
Absolutely not. By the way, a couple other suggestions. Friends in Low Places. Does everybody know that song? I certainly do, but I don't know if everybody knows that song.
I think it's one that people can get into, but it's not like a celebratory song. It's a fun one. But
No, but yeah, and the person who suggested it kind of said it is a little bit it's a little self-deprecating. Like, as an American soccer culture, let's I don't want to say our chants suck and we don't care, but if we sing I got friends in low places, I mean, it's kind of like, we're coming from nowhere and we're still gonna get you. Like, we started at nothing, this US soccer thing. Someone else has said we should somehow work in the the open to Rosa Parks, which is, I don't know exactly how that would work, but they thought it would be like, no, not that part. It'd be no, it'd be yeah. I can't do the whole
But
thing.
that's just but that's just like a snippet. You can't sing that through. And sometimes those songs, especially on a scale that high, it's going to take at least a bar or so to get the whole stadium bought in. And then if you're only doing a snippet of it, that makes it tough.
Here's what we need to do, right? Okay, we need some sort of like SEAL team, some sort of like group of individuals who have been specially trained to go to games and become the spark to set alight a particular song in the U.S. men's national team support culture, right? So I know like American Outlaws and those, and I love those guys. I got friends who have been, members forever and leadership there. I know they do things like this. Like, shout out to, Donald Wine and all these people. They do stuff. They try to do this thing. But I don't know. It needs to be stadium wide. It needs to be more than just those AO people who are kind of the different ones over there. We got to make this a universal thing. And again, if you've got like a bunch of chants that they don't know, the rest of the stadium doesn't know, for whatever reason, we just don't pick it up because they're not familiar to us. But if we maybe pick a song that is familiar to everybody, and maybe Country Roads is just the one for now, that's fine. Let's do that.
Do you think we're going to see that moving forward? Are we going to see that in the Turkiye game, you think? Is this just going to become the new staple?
At some point, that song will be sung in LA. I don't exactly know how it will manifest, whether it will be a post-game thing like it was in Seattle. I don't know. But I definitely think that it is now sort of common knowledge that this is a thing we do. And obviously, the internet has helped spread this. That video we just showed you, right? Just another little clip here from Seattle in the victory over Australia. It helps.
I guess there is. I guess I didn't realize that there was stuff over the PA along with it. I thought it was all a cappella when I first saw that.
Yeah, that's the thing. It was over the PA, and I think, that it would be nice if it was a cappella, and maybe that's the thing. Maybe it does start organically, and if the people in LA are smart, and remember this is a FIFA production. I don't know exactly who's picking the songs.
I did see a featurette that they researched all the teams in the World Cup, and they tried to make the songs are specific for the teams for all of these games. And so like at the Dutch game, they have like the heavy techno, and then obviously Country Roads to USA. And there is like a music curator or a music director for all these games, which I'm sure is no huge surprise, but it was interesting to kind of hear the gentleman that was in charge that discuss his process of finding all those things. But, an amazing moment, and not something that we thought we'd be celebrating just yet.
I know we need to move on, and we got a soccer under construction, which I'm very excited about. But I do also want to, again, recognize our ultras who are adding to this conversation. It's why you should be here listening live. George is saying that HBCUs have been doing this since at least the 80s, if not the 70s, in terms of some of the cultural things. I'm not exactly sure what he's talking about. Maybe it's the singing of the songs, and then Arriba Las Chivas also tossing in the HBCU thing is real. USA soccer fans, this is absolutely true. Thank you very much. U.S. soccer fans spent so long trying to be different from the rest of U.S. sports fans, we didn't organically adopt the fun parts of U.S. fandom. we were so concerned about the English judging us or the Latin countries judging us or whatever it was, doing it their way. And look, some of this again is the influence that people have had on American soccer culture. So if you go back and talk about La Barra Brava in DC, right? That was an expression of fan culture that took its cues from South America. The founders of that group deserve recognition. I believe Chico, maybe he passed a while back. I wrote about him a long time ago. That's fine, right? They brought their culture in and brought it to American soccer and dropped it on top of DC United and helped build DC United into the first really well-supported and truly culturally interesting American soccer team. But it'd be nice if we didn't need to do that all the time, or if we were willing to accept that American sports supporting culture is fine as it is and doesn't always need to copy somebody else.
Later in the show, we're going to talk stadium under construction out in California. But real quick, we're going to update those teams who've had a less fortuitous go at World Cup 2026. Who's already out of this year's edition? Next up here on Morning Kickaround.
We're doing that. Okay.
Let's go. Yeah, we're doing it. It was on the rundown. Who has been eliminated from the biggest ever soccer tournament of all time?
Verge from the rundown. The rundown is sacrosanct. Is that what I'm learning? Is that?
Yeah. Why did we do it? Why do we do it?
Why do we do the rundown? As a general guide, a framework from which we can always change our approach. But if you think we have time, Rob, to talk about this, then let's do it.
Well, yeah, for a couple of minutes here. So teams, it has an impact on the United States. Amongst the the first three teams eliminated from World Cup 2026 is fellow Group D member Turkiye. Turkey, Haiti, and Tunisia already out of the World Cup after losing their first two games. And I always thought it was fortuitous, the order in which USA was playing the teams: Paraguay, Australia, Turkey. The best order to play those in my estimation. And I really thought that, playing Turkey third, both teams would maybe already be through or maybe a draw or something like that. But I never would have expected them to be out already at this stage.
Yeah. Was it 63 shots and 0 goals to show for it from Turkey? Now, some of that is just the bad breaks. And this is something I talked about last week when I did the Best Soccer Show. I talked to Ryan Rosenblatt, who's a very smart guy. And I think it's really hard for us sometimes as soccer fans, especially if you come from other sports initially, to accept that who are you waving at, Rob? You've waved twice now.
There's someone in the someone keeps on saying hi in the chat. So I'm waving.
Oh, okay. All right.
Don't worry about it.
All right. It's just very distracting. That's all right.
You told me, don't even look at me. Just do your thing.
All right. Well, what I was going to say is that it's tough for soccer fans who maybe are coming from other sports in terms of the, the culture of how you win games, to accept the randomness and the amount of luck that is baked into how soccer plays out, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? So, we have this thought, the better team is supposed to win. But in this sport, more than any other sport I can think of, there is a randomness, a variance. Oh, I see what's happening. All right. Well, shout out to Rob's daughter, who is hanging out today.
Yeah. She's making her presence known, and I was just quietly responding, but apparently she will not be ignored.
This is probably true. If I can point, which I do a lot, then I guess Rob can wave. I guess so. I just thought when I point, I'd like to chime in. When you wave, I'm like, oh, Rob wants to oh no, that's not it. He's waving to his daughter, which, fine. That's lovely and sweet. But I think that in terms of the way Turkey's tournament has played out, Rob, it's about that. It's about how it's not unfair, because we just have to accept that that's how soccer works. But it does seem odd that you can take that many shots and not score, and you're out of the tournament in 2 games. Because I don't think by any stretch has Turkey been bad. They just haven't had that extra element that has helped them get the points they need to get through. And because the World Cup only happens every 4 years, and because you need 3 games to figure out if you're advancing, again, that randomness, that variance can upend your tournament and make you have to sit there and wait for another 4 years. And by the way, you have to qualify for the next tournament. It can be very painful.
And they've been waiting longer than 4 years in Turkey. It's been like, what, 24 years since they qualified?
Something like
And
that,
then
yeah.
they were, eliminated at the first possible opportunity. And for a country that is absolutely soccer or football fanatics, like their culture goes big in a way we can't even fathom. And then for them to have such disappointing results, you got to feel for them just a touch. Haiti and Tunisia. Tunisia, not super surprising that they're out after firing their coach in tournament after the first game. I don't know if they were expecting to have a wholesale turnaround after that first game. They didn't look really any better in the second game, Tunisia. And in Haiti, they were always going to be up against it in this tournament overall. So maybe not as surprising. I'm curious, is Belgium going to be the next team eliminated here? They're in some deep doo-doo.
Yeah, it's another one of those teams that has, they certainly haven't been at their level. And when you allow that, when you don't play, or they haven't been at the level you would expect considering their talent. And when you do have that sort of letdown, obviously you open the door for things to happen. I mean, Uruguay last night against Cabo Verde, they end up with a draw, and that was maybe not a result you expected. Obviously, Cabo Verde has proven to be pretty decent. They drew with Spain, now they've drawn with Uruguay, and they have a real chance to get through if they can beat Saudi Arabia in their final group stage game, which is I don't think a scenario anybody really had. But this is why you play, right? When the draw came out, everybody was like, well, that team's going to win this group, and that team's going to win that group, and this team was going to go second. And then, but that's never how it plays out. That's why we have, and I think this tournament, being as big as it is, which means a couple things. One, the hits keep coming. Like every day, there is something fascinating and entertaining and thrilling. And I have loved every second. And I have not kept up my streak of watching every game live all the way through, but I've had eyes on every game as they've happened in this tournament at some point, and it is awesome. It also is so much that it's hard to remember what happened 2 days ago.
Yeah, I had a little bit of a chit chat with my pickup soccer game on Thursday night. We're kind of like, oh, that one game. And then who are they playing?
Right.
And so it's like a 24, 48 hour window of memory is all that we have and that for the better or for worse, because it's almost like the opening weekend of the NCAA tournament for basketball, but it's just been going for like 2 weeks. So it's just continuous. And even so, there's been some absolutely unbelievably entertaining games, but you don't have a whole lot of time to really sit in it and think on it and reflect on it by any means. I mean, the USA game kind of hits a little bit different. And then I should also note that the USA round of 32 game won't happen until July 1st. And so we have the dead rubber against Turkey on Thursday. And then July 1st isn't for over a week or so. So we're going to have plenty of time to sit and stew on who's our opponent going to be. What will our approach be? Will Pulisic be available? All those things. We're going to have a lot of time to stew on that. But as far as the regular game action, it's one after the other after the other. I think the minimum's been 3 games in a day so far.
Yeah. I don't think we've had any days with fewer than 3. And sometimes we've had 4. And sometimes they start at noon, and then there's a game at midnight my time, which then becomes a waking period situation. Like, am I going to go to bed? No, I'm going to get up. I'm going to be up, and then I'm not going to bed until 2. And yeah, I mean, thankfully, I've got a family that has been very supportive of me being just neck deep in the World Cup. But yeah, for I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I know I'm atypical. So not everybody is going to be watching every game the way I am. And so people are going to have to dip in. I think hopefully people are engaging with highlights and things like that. I mean, the U.S. played, I know it was Juneteenth and there were a lot of people who did have off. My wife was off, for example, but people who did have to work on Friday for a noon local time kickoff, 3 p.m. Eastern time kickoff, you probably missed it. And the best way to maybe engage with this is to come back around on highlights and things. So, and then obviously picking and choosing and, what moments are important. But the games themselves, 90 minutes is a story. I mean, it's a novel of information, Rob, and I am thrilled by this tournament so far, even as I acknowledge it's probably still too much.
Yeah. And You brought an interesting point of whoever the editor in charge of putting together the match highlights. I think those are super important. And that's like a low key player or narrator of this tournament is the highlights editor. Like what makes it and what doesn't in that story of a 90-minute period.
Rather than make a qualitative judgment here, I'll just present what I have engaged with. Obviously, here in the U.S., the rights holders are Fox and Telemundo, and Fox, their packages tend to be shorter. They're going to be focused on the big moments for the most part. I think I've seen 15, 18 minutes at tops for Fox. Telemundo will give you a big chunk of the story, 30 minutes of highlights for games that have a significant amount of action. The U.S. game against Paraguay, I think that was 28, 29 minutes. Same thing for Australia. And what they do is they'll give you a scene set. So it's the stadium, the fans, the energy in the building. They'll give you a lineup. They'll give you a little bit of the anthems as well, so you can kind of get the sense of what this is as a World Cup. And then they tell you enough of the game. They show you enough of the game that you get a sense of how it played out. Not just like, oh, that's a goal and that's a goal, but like because a soccer match is never just about the big moments. It's about the back and forth and who has control and how you take advantage of those things and how teams are playing and maybe even a little tactical element as well. And so I think I've enjoyed watching back, even though I've watched every game for the most part, watching back the Telemundo highlights because they give me more of the story.
Another notable thing that happened over the weekend is come from behind wins. There wasn't any in the first weekend, and we saw 2 over the weekend with Germany's comeback as well as Egypt's comeback over the weekend. So notable there as well. But Turkey, Haiti, and Tunisia all out of the World Cup, and some more names to fall, more countries to be eliminated as we work through this second round of games. All right, we're going to come back and finish up the show with a little soccer under construction here on Morning Kick Around. Welcome back in Morning Kick Around. This is Soccer Under Construction here while the World Cup plays on the quest to dot the map across the American soccer landscape continues. And the USL Championship side, Oakland Roots, it continues their quest to find their forever home. The Oakland Roots and Soul Sports Club have officially submitted a proposal to turn its training facility on Harbor Bay Parkway in Alameda into a modular stadium per the city of Alameda. Agenda item set for today. They're basically looking for a temporary modular stadium while they look for that next step. So even if this is approved, it's another step along a long path towards a soccer-specific stadium for the Oakland Roots.
Yeah, this has been a saga for them. Obviously, they've been looking for a permanent solution. Obviously, they're playing in the Coliseum now, which is entirely too big for their purposes. I mean, we celebrated them getting 20,000 into that building for, I think, their inaugural game at the Oakland Alameda Coliseum, which is, of course, empty because the A's have decided they're going to play in Sacramento until they go to Vegas. Yeah. This is from the story at KTVU.com, local news station in the area. So what we know, in addition to hosting club matches, the proposed facility would host youth, high school, and college sports, as well as summer camps, corporate events, and adult league games. I mean, they're going to use this thing. Proposal has a capacity of up to 8,000 for the Oakland Roots. Oakland Soul matches, that's their women's team, would have a capacity of 1,500. And then there would be some other events where they cap things from 500 to 2,500. Okay. So 8,000, Rob. Is that big enough for USL Premier and First Division soccer in the United States as far as we know?
Not as it stands now. The 15,000 is the cap or the requirement for First Division soccer per the league standards, the federal league standards. But there's a whole bunch of mystery on what sort of permissions or what do you call it, delays. Waivers. That's the word I'm looking for. What waivers will be provided until the USL's Pro Rel setup is fully set up? Will an 8,000 seater stadium be granted a waiver until they can build their eventual home? But if that's not the case, they might be stuck in a lower league until they can build their big fancy stadium.
And everybody would say that in terms of sort of the market size, the marketing power that Oakland Roots have created around their brand, some of the success they've had, they smack of a first division team in the USL when they get that league launched, right? I would suggest that that fits who Oakland is. And of course, again, when you have a requirement for a number of markets to have a certain population, as written into the PLS right now, then Oakland would fit that. That area would fit that, and you wouldn't have to worry about a waiver for that. But again, the stadium is an issue. Looking at this rendering, which I grabbed from an Oakland Roots blog, this is basic stuff. Man, this is basic stuff. This is modular and basic, right? And you got some tents down there, which look like hospitality things, and then open air seating on each side. An end here. This one's slightly better because it's got people in it. This one looks a little cooler. You get a little bit of a festival atmosphere. Looks like there's a band playing in the parking lot while the game's going on. It's a little confusing, but sure, why not? Let's have some fun there. I don't blame them for doing this, right? And we pulled some background on this, Rob, because obviously, again, there's been a process here for the Oakland Roots for a long time. This is the quote from I'm going to butcher his name. I don't think I've said Edris Argandual. We are always exploring our options at the club. It's important for us to create a club that's sustainable, that will be here for 100 plus years for Oakland and the surrounding community. We're currently at the Coliseum. We created an amazing, great game day environment. The options are there for us to continue to explore. Our training facility is one of them. There are other options as well, and our longer-term options are still in the mix. I mean, he's leaving open the door to anything. But again, this is like build a modular stadium at their training facility, which they already control, to bridge them to this, which is what they really want to build, Rob. And we've seen these images before. Tell me about this.
Oh, that's an absolutely gorgeous stadium right there on the bay. And if that does come to fruition, this arduous journey of temporary locations and bouncing in and around will totally pay off. But yeah, obviously they understand that this isn't right around the corner, so they need something temporary, hence this modular stadium. And shout out to American parking lots being big enough to throw up an 8,000 person stadium in there. No one else around the world, not many folks can claim to have that. But I mean, the last rendering of this modular stadium, as basic as Stadia could really get, at that level. And then they're looking to get into a Rolls Royce here with this eventual plan here at the port. And absolutely remarkable. Other side note, that the Roots are in an interesting position, that they're kind of trying to fill the power vacuum of, Oakland's pro major league sports leaving, and then they're kind of filling in the void because for those who don't know, the Roots have arguably the highest quality training site as they moved into the Oakland Raiders training facility. And so they have elevated training sites, but they're playing in the Coliseum, which is an old baseball stadium. And then now there's this modular stadium put together. But then there's also this hopeful plan of this world-class stadium there on the port. So they might be called the Roots. It's funny that their namesake is the Roots when they're kind of like trying to
aspirational. It's an aspirational name, Rob. So
well,
this is also
Wanderers. That doesn't quite make sense.
We don't like that. This is also from the KTVU story on this. So the long-term plans, which we just talked about, they want to build a stadium at Howard Terminal. We showed you the pictures. So they met on July 11th. June 11th. So that's already passed. We need to probably check in on the results of that meeting. The document submitted to the Alameda City Council states the modular stadium would bid over a 6-month period. So this is about the bridge, the gap, bridge the gap between this and when they build whatever permanent thing they're able to build. So it says that they would be able to do this and then host games in 2027. While the Roots do not have a home at the Oakland, or do have a home at the Oakland Coliseum, use of that facility has been called highly problematic by its governing body, the Joint Powers Authority. Executive Director Henry Gardner, in a June 12th meeting, stated that over the years, the cost of operating the Coliseum both with and without sports teams has outweighed the surplus. So they're basically saying, we'd like to tear that building down because we ain't making any money out of it, and it's actually bad to keep it there because it costs money to keep it open. So that's certainly not good. I also pulled this from the actual Oakland Roots website. So this is about what's going on with their situation now at the Coliseum. And then originally they had actually proposed to build a modular stadium to bridge the gap in the parking lot of the Coliseum. So that moved that to their training facility. So this is, I don't know where we are with this, but this was part of their presentation on their website for the Howard Terminal site. Discussions about remaining at the Coliseum as an interim home beyond 2025 are ongoing. This is before, obviously, this season. So I think they've gotten through this season, but their plan or their agreement doesn't carry through to 2027, hence the need to build the modular stadium, right? So, and again, you can see if they could get the Coliseum locked down for 2026, which they clearly have, that would supplant the club's need to construct a 10,000 capacity interim stadium at the Malibu lot that was intended to host both teams for 5 to 10 years while they worked on a permanent home. That was the parking lot at the Coliseum that they were thinking would be a good site for their modular stadium. So that is now off the board, and looking at a modular stadium there at their training facility. This is a map to give you a geographical sense of where things are relative to one another. Oakland to Alameda County Coliseum, they're kind of in the middle. The training facility down a little farther south, and then you can see how our terminal is up there above Alameda, which is, I'm not being a Bay Area person. I only have a vague sense of this, but clearly this is not like going way out and moving to the suburbs or something.
No, it's definitely a geographical shift, not exactly smack dab in the same place, but yeah, right there along the bay and within the city. But thank you for demonstrating that, kind of getting a sense of all these different locations that we're talking about here. But the meeting, it's the I think it's the third meeting for the city council for seeking approval for making the training facility into that modular home at Alameda for the Oakland Roots. That probably brings us to the end of that. We'll see how that all plays out as Oakland Roots try to make some roots and try to find their forever home, but need another interim solution in the meantime. And so on the docket today, we have 4 more World Cup games. The hits keep on coming. As you, Jason Davis, radio man, how does your day look covering World Cup 2026?
Yeah, I got my show is in my regular time slot this afternoon, which has not been the case most of the tournament. So 4 to 7, I'm on the radio with Eric Winalda today to talk about recent events in the World Cup. We'll obviously talk a lot about the U.S. men's national team and maybe start to approach what the U.S. should do on Thursday against Turkiye. But the fun begins at 1 when Argentina plays against Austria in Dallas. I imagine that joint will very filled up with the blue and white of Argentina. I don't know how big the Austrian contingent is. I'm sure they're having some fun and drinking some beer like everybody else. But that should be an interesting one because, obviously Argentina, they I don't know, made a statement. Depends on how much you rate Algeria at this point. I mean, that's a decent side. Obviously, Messi had his hat trick. Can he keep that going? How real is Argentina's chances of repeating?
Yeah, we shall see this afternoon. We also will see later on France versus Iraq. And I almost think that Iraq got the toughest pull out of this entire World Cup.
Norway in there too? Ouch, baby.
Yeah, Norway, Senegal, France. That's the murderer's row. There's been a lot of lamenting about there's not really any groups of death. I think that might be the one, at least for
well,
Iraq's
there can't be a group of death when third place teams get through. Really, I mean, Senegal may get beaten by both France and Norway, but if they get 3 points and run up the score against Iraq, it's possible they still get through. I don't know that that's necessarily the case. I mean, I have to look at where we are on third place teams. 3 points can conceivably get you through. But you probably need 4 to be 100% getting through, or pretty close to that. So right now it looks like Sweden, Scotland, Paraguay. We talk about Cabo Verde again with 1 game to play, are kind of in pole position to make it through as a third place team. And this is absolutely true. Even though I've enjoyed this, and maybe you could argue that the bigger tournament and the lack of jeopardy allows teams to play more free and more open, but the drama in terms of getting out of the group is absolutely lessened, as Riverside Grove says.
Yeah, it certainly has, but the action on the field has been more than exciting thus far through, 1.5 groups games having been played, and then 3 teams being eliminated, and multiple teams already getting through to the next round, including the United States of America. Should we clang one more time before we leave? The
Let's do
United
it.
States has won their group. Let's do it. All right. Beautiful stuff. Beautiful stuff indeed. We will be back on Wednesday morning and continue to dot the map, cover the World Cup and everything in between. So stay safe, be brave. And until next time, everybody, enjoy your soccer.